Hello, and welcome to Tuesday Talks with Mom. I'm Tera Myers, and I am so glad you're here. As part of Moms on a Mission, we're empowering moms across the country to stand up and advocate for their children's educational freedom. As a mom of an adult son with Down syndrome, I've walked this road, navigating the school system and fighting for the right to choose the best education for my child. And now I'm here to share that journey with you. Every 2 weeks, we'll sit down with different moms from around the country and provide thoughtful advice and share our experiences. Together, we're building a community of moms who are finding their voices, taking action, and making a difference. Welcome to Tuesday Talks with Mom.
Well, welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. And I'm really excited about what is coming up at the beginning of next month. So, today, along with me is Nathan Cunneen, who is the director, the Texas State Director. And I'm so excited to have him here to talk about Texas. Welcome, Nathan.
Hi, Tara. Thanks for having me.
Well, Nathan, I know just like myself, you didn't just decide to show up and advocate for school choice and walk into Texas and say, this is, what I want to do with my life. You got here similarly to how I got here. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your story and how you came to be in this position?
Well, thanks, Tara. Absolutely. I have the enormous privilege of working and advocating for school choice professionally, both in Texas and around the country. But that started in a very personal way for me. In fact, I was using school choice and was blessed by school choice long before I even knew what school choice was, which I think is true for a lot of kids around the United States, especially recently. So even when I was a little baby, just 1 or 2 years old, I found out, decades later that my mom used to write letters to our legislators at the time, and I've read some of these letters. She didn't know what school choice was, and she didn't know maybe the correct words to use about ESAs or tax credit scholarships or some of those fancy things that we throw around in school choice world. But she was asking her legislators for the freedom to be able to choose the best school for me and for my education. She said that in these letters, Representative so and so, I should have the freedom to pick whatever school is best for my kid. I shouldn't be assigned to the school based on our zip code. And that's where I think my school choice journey really started. Thankfully for her and for me, just a few years later, the Florida government passed the tax credit scholarship program that I was able to use for 12 years in my education. That was a really transformative reform that put Florida in the leadership, in the spotlight in terms of school choice opportunities for kids. And I was really able to use that scholarship to get the education that I deserved. My story is a little bit different than I think some other folks in that I actually gave up my scholarship voluntarily at one point. So I had a really wonderful K through 8 experience at a private school that really nurtured my needs, that set me up for success, that really established a firm foundation for academic success. And when I graduated 8th grade and wanted to go to high school, I begged my parents to let me go to our big local public high school so that I could be a football star. And learned very quickly that, first of all, I just sort of squandered a massive opportunity. But secondly, I wasn't as good at football as I thought I was, maybe. And enjoyed some of my time there, but ultimately, really struggled socially, really struggled academically. And it became obvious after 2 years that if I continued in that environment, I wasn't going to be going to college. I wouldn't be really graduating high school in my full potential. So ultimately, made the decision to beg my parents once again to let me return to private school. But we couldn't afford it without the help of a scholarship. So thankfully, we were able to get a school choice scholarship again. And I always say, school choice didn't just save me once, it actually saved me twice. And that's what led me in order to be able to go to college and get a 4-year degree, which then led me to get connected here at AFC and to begin advocating nationally. And now that's what I do full time. I live here in Dallas, Texas, and am working really hard with a huge coalition of allies and a huge coalition of legislative champions to create what I really do think in 5 years will be the number one state for school choice in the entire country.
Oh my gosh, Nathan, that's a fabulous story. I've never heard the whole thing from beginning to end. So
I don't normally have this much time
I love it. No, I love it
so.
that you're here on my chat and sharing completely because, I had my first son, my first two children actually in Florida, and we fought to come back to Ohio. And I remember when that scholarship that you're talking about got passed, and I thought, what have I done? Why did I leave Florida? Because things here were not looking so great. And so it's really exciting to meet a beneficiary. And I love the part in your story where you say that you begged your parents and your parents gave you the opportunity to choose as
Right.
a young student. And I think that that's so wonderful because sometimes you have to be able to have choice in order to be able to find
Right.
out whether or not the other option is better for you. I made several choices for my children when they were younger, and some of them were the right choice and some of them were not the right choice. And then as they got older, each one of them needed something different, and choice made the difference, but different choices for each one of them. So I think that I really applaud your parents for that. I've never met them, but I would look forward to that, possibly chatting with your mom and hearing about that. That experience of writing those letters. Similarly, I was doing the same thing, only I was making phone calls. I beat up the phone line relentlessly in order to try to find a way to get the legislators and those that could come alongside me to help
Right.
make that change. And so I just applaud your mom and your dad for that. And I know there's thousands and thousands of other
Right.
parents out there like your mom, like me, and other students like yourself and like my children. So we're here to discuss Texas because this is a really, really exciting thing. I wore my Dallas shirt today just to support the state, and, just because I'm so excited for these parents. I remember on our Q&A call that we had for families of Dallas, and I think they can look forward for one of those coming up soon again. But I remember being so excited. I was like, I want to pack my bags and go to Texas because you guys have such an unbelievable opportunity just knocking at the door. So what I'd like to do is have you tell a little bit about, let's just talk about what is coming up on February 4th.
Absolutely. On February 4th, that's the first day that Texas families can apply to take part in the Texas Education Freedom Account program. So get your applications ready, sharpen your pencils, buy new pens, email me. I'll send you new pens if you want. The application goes live on February 4th. We want to get as many families to apply as possible. Really important, really important. Other states have had a first come, first serve program where there's a huge importance that you apply as soon as possible. Mm-hmm. Texas is not like that. Texas is not one of those states. This program is not first come, first serve. So you should apply on February 4th. If you don't apply on February 4th, you should apply on February 5th. But you have until March 17th to apply, and you will not be penalized if you don't do it right at the beginning. Again, I want to be very clear about this. Please, please, please apply on the first day. Just get it over with. That way you can't forget about it. You don't have to worry about it after that point. But I don't want to cause stress or anxiety in families that you think if you don't apply on February 4th, that means you're not going to get a TEFA. That's not true. Make sure you get that application in no matter what. I'd also just like to share a little bit maybe about what the TEFA program is set to do and some of the unique characteristics of the program. Tera's already mentioned, a little bit of her experience in Ohio. I, of course, used the Florida Tax Credit Scholarship Program. Texas has the best school choice program in the country, and it's not even close. I'm a little biased, obviously, so there are folks from other states watching. Maybe they disagree, but essentially this is an education savings account program that is going to allow families to customize the education that is best for their individual child. If you're the average student or family that'd like to send your kid to a private school, then you will receive approximately $10,400 in order to do that. I'll note that that's the highest scholarship amount in the entire country by a significant margin.
Significantly.
If you'd like to homeschool your child, you can receive $2,000 to aid in homeschool education that can be used for curriculum or tutoring or other extracurricular
Nathan, is that
activities.
per child? Is that per child for your
That's
homeschooling or
correct.
per family?
That's per child.
That's amazing. Okay, go ahead.
Yes. And if your child has a special learning need, then you're able to get whatever that student would have gotten within the public school system up to $30,000. Which is really transformative, I think, for families who are looking at making the shift, but are worried about whether or not the funds are really going to be able to cover what they need.
That's fabulous. That's when I heard those opportunities being presented. It is truly like filling the backpack for the child and watching their allocated dollars follow them to the appropriate place of learning. I mean, Texas got it right on this. And so I applaud the legislature and everybody involved in making sure that this happens for Texas families. So kudos. Go ahead.
It gets even better than that.
I know. It's so exciting.
Everything in Texas, everything is bigger in Texas, including school choice. This is going to be the largest day one program in the history of the country. The legislature has appropriated $1 billion for this program in the first 2 years. So we're expecting that there will be at least 100,000 students who are able to take part in the first year. Just for context there, it took Florida like a decade to get to 100,000 kids, and Texas is going to do it in just 3 weeks. So we're really excited about that. We're living up to our reputation down here that everything is bigger in Texas. And
I love it.
We're just excited to be able to show the demand that parents in Texas have, that they've communicated to us in our trips around the state, that show that they really want this program. And then, our job as advocates is to turn around and make sure that their elected officials know that and are aware of the life-changing opportunity that this program presents.
That is amazing. Well, being a mom that had 3 different learners and also had to make the choice to homeschool at one point, you've covered all the bases. I mean, and isn't there a priority application period does priority go to students with low income and special needs, or does everybody apply all on the same day?
That's a great question. The intention of this program is to make sure that everyone is eligible.
Okay.
But the program is designed to make sure that those who need school choice the most get it first. Okay. And that's done through the prioritization buckets that you mentioned. So again, the applications go live on February 4th. You have until March 17th to apply. And then the prioritization structure kicks in after that. So students with special learning needs are accepted into the program for TEFA's first. Following are low-income students. And that's low income is signified by about $60,000 for a family of 4. Family income, if it's below that, then you're in the second income category. Then it moves on to a little bit more of what we would consider to be middle class families before ultimately in the 4th category being available to every student in the state of Texas. So it's a little bit confusing. I've explained it a couple dozen times, and it's just a lot of numbers to grasp onto. But ultimately, I think the point that we're trying to make is that, low income and special needs students who oftentimes just need access to education opportunities more urgently, this program has prioritization to make sure that those kids are awarded TEFAs first in line. And that's by design before ultimately making these opportunities available to every kid in the state of Texas who very much deserves them.
Well, I love it because, if you look at it, what I'm understanding, just for a recap, everybody on day one can apply, and then the priority will be given, the handout of scholarship allocation will happen based upon those priority levels. And I love how you have put those categories in order, because oftentimes families of children with special learning needs, they hold back because we're told, oh, you're going to lose everything. You're going to lose all of your rights, which is just simply not true. You do lose the opportunity to, possibly have a free public education. But if the public education is not working for you, now you have an opportunity to take those dollars and get the access have access to resources that maybe wouldn't have otherwise been available, or
Right.
maybe would have been withheld. So that's just fabulous. And then students with low income, again, oftentimes those parents, several of my kids' friends were like, if we take advantage of this, there's no guarantee. And here, there is a guarantee that if you fall in that category, that you're going to be looked at just like everyone
Right.
else, but you get to stand at the front of the line. And I just love that. I think that's
Right.
wonderful.
It's
But
just
everyone
another
has an
tool in the
opportunity.
toolbox.
Yes.
It's an extra tool in the toolbox for families. I want to stress very clearly that, we don't know how these priority buckets are going to work out. We don't know
Right.
how many special needs kids are going to apply. We don't know how many low or middle or upper income students are going to apply. So just apply.
Yes.
Anyone, we have these categories to make sure that, awards are given in a particular order, but ultimately our goal is to make sure that everybody who applies gets a scholarship. I want to be very transparent that, if we see the sort of demand that we've observed in other states, there might be some folks that are in those third or fourth income categories that don't have a scholarship this year. But it's very important that you still apply so that we can go get you one next year. We need to
Right.
be able to communicate to the legislature that there is demand for this from the parents of Texas. And the only way that we can show that is by applying on February 4th through March 17th. It's very important.
I love it. I love it. So parents, don't be shy. Get out there and apply. Now, what types of documents? I mean, let's talk about eligibility here for a minute. Tell me a little bit about the eligibility pieces. I know they have to be a legal citizen and reside in the state of Texas, have to be going to a public school, attend a public school or a pre-K kindergarten, correct? Is there anything else that I've missed on there?
Just a small nuance. You're correct, except you just have to be eligible to attend a public school.
Oh,
So
eligible. Okay.
you can be currently homeschooling, you can currently attend a private school and still apply for the program as long as you were eligible to go to a Texas public school. Then you're absolutely welcome to apply.
Okay. And what types of documents, just to give an idea, because right now, we're going to be putting this out for parents to be able to see ahead of time. So let's say, they're looking at that date. They don't want to wait until that date to start gathering things up. It's, I always told parents, hey, let's get ready a week ahead of time in case you have to run down to some department and request a document or have it downloaded to you. What types of documents are parents going to need, Nathan?
That's a great question, Tara. Our friends at Odyssey, who are providing the technological backbone of this program, have designed what I would consider to be one of the most streamlined application processes that I've seen in my time working with these programs around the country. You really only need a couple things. First of all, a social security number is going to get you 95% of the way there, which is really tremendous. I mean, back in the day, you used to have to do huge applications for school choice programs. Now you can just plug in your student's social security number and they have everything that they need to determine what priority category you fall into, whether or not you're eligible to attend a public school in Texas, all of that stuff. Beyond that, the documentation really just depends on what sort of student you have and what you're looking to do with your student's education. So if you're interested in sending your child to a private school and using, this TEFA money to help pay for tuition at a private school, then you still need to get admission to that private school. You have to apply to that private school independently. If you haven't done that already, I encourage you, please start applying to private schools that you're interested in now. You will have to, on the platform, verify that you have gotten acceptance into the private school, not at the time of application, but before they give you your money in July. And the reason for that is because, as I said earlier, homeschoolers are getting $2,000, but a private school attendee is receiving $10,400. So they need to verify the difference of whether or not
that you actually have the bill.
Right. So
that's right. That's right.
That's not going to occur on February 4th. You have some time, but please apply now.
And I would encourage. Go ahead. I'm just going to interject right there. When you make that application, parents, I think it's really important to also, when you're applying at the school, apply for their financial aid allotment as well. Because if there's overages, you want to make sure that you're in line to get those. So go ahead, Nathan.
Right. No, that's absolutely right. I was just going to add there, the one more note on documentation is Another thing you want to be forward looking on is if your child does have a special learning need.
Okay.
In order to get that up to $30,000 amount, you're going to need to present the IEP that you received from the school district. So if you have an IEP, then that might not be such a difficult thing to get a copy of. If you need to have an independent evaluation performed on your student, maybe your kid is already homeschooled or goes to a private school, request those IEPs with your local school district now. Almost every school district here in Texas, you can request those evaluations either through the principal of the school you're zoned to, or oftentimes they have special needs coordinators that set this sort of thing up. I'm happy to help find out who those people are and reach out to them on your behalf, or just get you connected. But we want to make sure that you request those evaluations as early as possible so that they're ready in time for the program. Again, that's not something that's required on February 4th, but it will be something that's required by the time that they need to calculate at some point how much money you are awarded in your account, sometime later in the spring.
And that's great, Nathan, because oftentimes parents, sometimes you leave that IEP meeting or the ETR meeting, whatever it's called in your state, and you have this massive pile of papers. And sometimes parents are so overwhelmed, they go home and plop them in a pile. I highly recommend that you get a 3-ring binder and put them in some plastic sleeves, have them readily available in order so that when you have to upload that, if you already have those documents, they're at your fingertip. And also ask the school for a digital copy as well. That way it's easier for you. You don't have to scan it in, but be prepared to maybe go to your local library, or even ask the school if they can help you. Oftentimes they can scan them in and send them for you, so that you can get those documents where they need to be for the time that you need them. And I appreciate that, Nathan, that you're willing to send parents in the right direction. And we've been scrolling across the screen, the application window and where you can actually go to the sites to be able to log in. I recommend, excuse me, trying out those sites now. Click on them, see what's available, kind of take a little tour, if you will, so that you're familiar with it. When I went through this process, I was nervous. I was worried that I was going to mess something up, but playing around with it ahead of time can really ease your anxiety over it and make sure that you have what you need, so that your questions, if you have them, you can have them written down and ready for when you contact somebody to help out with that.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, I think this is wonderful. Is there anything else that you don't think that, parents have asked this question more frequently? I want to make sure they know this, or do you feel like we've pretty much covered our February 4th window opening?
I just think the biggest thing that I'll stress is, we fully expect that there will be a massive number of applications on February 4th. I don't want to discourage people. I really want to stress that this is not first come, first serve. If you see a press release that might or may not have my name on it that is applauding the program for having, let's say 50,000 applications on the first day, that does not mean that all the spots are taken. You should still get your application in. Don't stress about it. Do not let fear that somebody else has gotten there first keep you from taking advantage of this opportunity. We've seen this in other states where parents get freaked out and they think that there are no spots left because they see really big numbers. Don't worry about that. Just get that application in on February 4th. If not, do it on February 5th, and so on and so on and so on, all the way up until March 17th.
Right. And I want to encourage parents, the cool thing about choice, and I've said this all along, is that everybody doesn't have to follow the herd one way or the other, is that you're looking at your child, your family situation, your needs specifically, and the ability to make decisions based on those needs, not based upon what your neighbor's doing or based upon what your zip code is. If your public school is working for you, you don't have anything to worry about. This information is just something you can share with your neighbor who maybe you heard them at a coffee chat say, my child is struggling and we need something different. And the beautiful thing about this opportunity is that we're leveling the playing field and we're providing a table big enough to give all children in the state of Texas a seat.
That's right.
So thank you, Nathan. I am so excited that you shared all this information. I know families out there are going to be elated. I'm excited for them because I know, having been there and done that, that this is something that will open doors of opportunity for children for decades to come. So I thank you for coming on today. Parents, feel free to reach out. Moms, if you've got a story to share, I would love to hear from you. Feel free to visit us at our Moms on a Mission Facebook page, and we look forward to seeing you soon.